welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, I am rocking the fashion vibes today. Bringing a slightly chaotic energy to this video because quarantine has been interesting. I might be going slightly insane, but that's okay. And you know what? I figured it's the perfect time to pull out the camera right in the middle of my midlife quarter life crisis? Quarantine crisis, shall we say? I don't know, it's just like a really gross, gray Canadian winter day outside, and I just needed summer so bad. I'm having major, like, Olaf existential crises right now. In summer. I don't even know what I'm saying. Basically, the point of this video today is to talk about all I've been reading during January. I can't believe the month actually went by as fast as it did, but here we are. It's February. I'm sad about it. I wish it was June or July, but we're gonna go with it. Anyways, so I have some fun books to talk about today. Some not so fun ones. There's gonna be a few roasts in here, not gonna lie. Not all these books were good. But I did have some really great reads this month, and I'm excited to share them with you. I'm gonna start off with my favorite book, because, you know, always good to start on a good note. And it was Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. I feel like I've been seeing this book all over social media. Everybody has been raving about it, and it really definitely lived up to the hype. It's in Reese Witherspoon's book club, which is kind of fun. And I don't want to spoil too much about this novel, but it's about this girl, Amira, who's she's either 25 or 26, and she's babysitting for this family, and I feel like I can kind of spoil this because it like happens like literally in the first chapter, I think. But she encounters some racism when she's at this grocery store with the little kid that she's babysitting, and then and that moment kind of like sets up everything else that happens in the book, and I don't want to give too much away, but there's this twist kind of like partway through that I was really not expecting at all. But yeah, this story was just so good. The writing was like everything I would have wanted out of like, is this a YA novel? I would maybe classify it as YA. It was just everything I needed from like a light read, but also talks about like a lot of important things too, and just like such an interesting perspective. And yeah, I don't know. I love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, which I don't do very often. I mean, I did just get my Goodreads, so haven't reviewed that many books anyways, but yeah, this was definitely my favorite read of the month, and you should check it out. 5 out of 5. We love this. The next book, maybe I'll go for this one, and I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily classify this as like well, it's like a book of poetry. Like, it's not a novel or anything. It only took me maybe an hour to read, maybe even less than that, but it's Homebody by Ruby Carr, and she's Canadian, which is cool. And I feel like probably most people have heard of her other poetry books. Her first one, Milk and Honey, and then the other one I think is called The Sun and Her Flowers. I could be wrong, but yeah, this was okay. I mean, super quick. Like, it's definitely basically just Tumblr poetry. Well, there were a few poems in here that I thought had like some substance, because she does talk about like some really heavy things in her poems, but for the most, like, a lot of it just kind of felt like page filler, you know. But I don't remember what I rated this on Goodreads, but it was okay. Like, it was decent. If you like poetry, or like if you like I don't want to say that this isn't legitimate poetry, but if you like, I don't know any other way to say this, but like if you like legit poetry, you probably will hate this. But like if you're just foraying into poetry, this might be a good one to pick up. This next book, I'm not going to talk about too much because I want to include it in a separate video that I've been saying I'm going to film for so long, but I just need to like make myself do it anyways. But so I'll go into more detail about it later, but it's Madeline, I think it's Tien, I think it's how you pronounce it. It's called Do Not Say We Have Nothing, and obviously you can see it won a bunch of prizes because this book was so good. I have so many amazing things to say about it. It just like her writing is just like so masterful, and like the way that she weaves so many different storylines in and out is just amazing. And like there's so much like history, and like it seems like kind of autofiction a little bit. I don't really know, but because I don't know anything about the author. But yeah, I don't want to say too much, but it's really good. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads only because my only criticism of this book is that it's really long. Which, I mean, it's still worth like the read, definitely. It's just that my attention span like leaves the room after 300 pages, and this one was like almost 500. So yeah, it took me a little bit to get through, but it was just such a beautiful story that completely worth it. My brain like stops computing after 300 pages. This next one is one of the books that I really didn't like. I had no idea this was a memoir, and like I only realized it was a memoir like halfway through reading it, and I still cannot believe that this actually happened in real life because some of the stuff that happens is just like insane. It's Group by Christy Tate, and it's basically what you'd think it would be about. It's about group therapy. And I kind of hated this book. And but I also like couldn't put it down. Like I was almost hate reading it, if that makes any sense. Like I didn't know that was a thing, but like I just had to know what happens because it was just so ridiculous. But which is why I'm like so floored that this is a memoir. The therapist, or I think psychiatrist, I don't know if they actually say, but I kind of think psychiatrist in this is just, I have so many issues. It is just so problematic, like the way that the group therapy is set up, and I don't know. I would never want to discount or discredit like anybody's experience with therapy or mental health or whatnot, because I mean, I think therapy is so important, and okay, we all should be doing it. It should be way more accessible than it is. But anyways, back on track. Like the therapist, I think or psychiatrist, I think his name is Dr. Rosen or whatever. The things that he pulls is just insane, and like I feel like if any like practicing psychiatrist or therapist or psychologist, whatever, like pulled this stuff in real life, like they would be fired, they would be disbarred, whatever it is that is disbarred just for lawyers, I don't know. But anyways, like the culture that he creates in this group therapy is just so toxic and so codependent and just like so unhealthy, and like I don't know. And to me, he just kind of seemed like a sadist and like you know, like a puppeteer, whatever, and like he just didn't care about like these people's lives, and but then also like making them like rely on him and like not be able to function like without him or like his therapy, which is just like so messed up on so many levels. Like I can't even I can't even with this book. But yeah, which is why I was like, I still, like, cannot process that this is a memoir and that this actually happened. And, like, I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but, like, technically at the end, like, there's a happy ending, you know? Like, seems like she got things worked out. And I mean, hey, if it worked for her, then good for her. Like, I never want to discount anybody's experiences or whatnot. Regardless of the content, the writing itself was kind of shit. Like, or it was kind of bad, like, especially at the beginning, like the first few chapters, I was like, oh Lord, am I going to get through this book? Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up on this book because I will just get so mad if I keep talking about this. So I would not recommend this book, especially, just I would not recommend this book. Anyways, next one is on a much happier note. It's As We Have Always Done by Leanne Bedesamasake Simpson. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And it says here, Indigenous Freedom Through Radical Resistance. And I loved this book so much. Like, she is just such an intelligent, like, amazing person, writer, whatever, human being. I picked this up actually at my bookstore, like at school, like the school bookstore. It wasn't for any of my classes, but I had read a couple of her short stories before, and I saw this and I was like, maybe I will want to read it eventually. And I eventually did, and actually my cousin had recommended this book too. She said that it was really good. So I'm so glad that I finally read it. Yeah, she just brings up so many amazing points and has, like, so many, like, wonderful ideas, or I don't even know how to put it. Like, she's just honestly way too smart for me. And I think definitely it would help if you had an academic background reading this book. That doesn't mean that, like, if you didn't study literature or whatever, that you're not going to be able to understand it. Like, that's totally not that. But it would just, I think it would help. Just because her language is just so, like, the language she uses is just so advanced and, like, beautiful and complex. But no, literally, like, anyone and everyone should read this book. It was so good. And it's nonfiction, by the way. Okay, this last book, I am a little bit scared to talk about because I really did not like it. And I was just shocked at, like, because I looked it up on Goodreads or whatever. It was one that had been on my shelf for years and I kind of forgot about it, and I picked it up because I was like, oh, this could be a fun read. And it got good reviews, so I'm just so confused to why everybody liked this book. It's Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall, and I have so much beef with this book. I can't even. I'm just, it's gonna take me a lot to, like, process my thoughts and be articulate with this, because this book I did not like at all. I think this is the first 1-star book review that I did on Goodreads, just because there is so much going on that is just problematic. It's about a 17-year-old girl named Nora. She has agoraphobia, which basically she can't leave her house. And I mean, I'm, like, way simplifying that, like, right there. Is she gonna stop? Sorry, my cat is also not having fun with this quarantine. Okay, well, first of all, the writing was so horrific. Like, it was almost to the point where it was so bad that it was almost entertaining, but it was just bad. Like, okay, I bookmarked, like, towards the end, like, it got to a point where, like, I had to bookmark some of the lines because they were just so bad. Okay, there's a line that says, "We settled on a movie called Zombie's Curse. It's so loaded with cheese, I start craving macaroni." That is a literal line in the book. Oh, it's also, like, a romance, by the way, but between her and her next door neighbor. But Okay, there's another line that says, he pauses the movie. I try not to get teary over how considerate he is. The bar is so low. So low. Okay, I need to like stop this cat. So I think I have successfully gotten my cat to chill. So let's just dive back into it. I don't know where I was. I think I was talking about how bad the writing is in this. And don't get me wrong, I love a good teen romance novel. I mean, usually they're fun, lighthearted, you know. And the writing isn't necessarily like the greatest literary masterpiece, but most of the time, it's at least better than this. Part of me feels bad roasting this book because at the end, like, the author kind of talks about how, like, even though like it's fictional, like a lot of stuff in it, like especially surrounding like the mental health aspects, is derived from her own experiences. But I just feel like the representation of mental health in this novel is just so problematic that, like, I don't know, I feel like I just had to address it. The way that it comes across almost is that, like, and I'm saying this carefully, but that, like, Nora's mental health issues are almost like this quirky personality trait or whatever that she has, and like, and not all the time, like, it doesn't, like, some of it actually the representation is okay, but I feel like the way that it comes across in this story is that it's just like an afterthought, or like, I don't know how any other way to explain it, as like a quirk that she has. And I mean, this book was, I think it came out in 2016, so I'm not 100% sure on that though. Which, I mean, was a few years ago, but also like still not long enough for like this type of thing to be okay. Like, maybe it was acceptable back then, but because I feel like we have like gone pretty far in the last couple of years, or like, well, several years for sure, but even in the last few years, like, our understanding of mental health has really evolved, and so this just felt really outdated to me, even though like 2016 was really only like a few years ago. One of the biggest issues though for me with this book is the way that it depicts self-harm. Like, there's this one, I want to say scene, but I'm gonna say like there's a few pages in here where it like goes fully, like in full detail of like the main character basically inflicting harm on herself, and like way more detailed than it needed to be, and then it just, so that was just really unsettling, because I mean, I think it's important to discuss these things. There are ways in which you need to go about it to be sensitive to people who are perhaps going through it now or have gone through it and it's triggering or traumatizing for them. And then also just self-harm was thrown around so casually, like, throughout the rest of the book too. Like, it just was, to me, seemed really problematic. I remember in one of my classes in university, we were reading a book that dealt heavily with sexual assault, and the prof had said something along the lines of like asking people not to share their personal experiences with sexual assault, like with the class, with the group, just because, and hopefully I get this right, but she said something along the lines of like, you may be ready to tell your story, but other people may not be ready to hear your story, if that makes sense. And it's kind of along the lines of like, you might be at a place where you're not necessarily okay with it, but you've gotten to a point where you can speak about it and you're maybe more open about it. But you never know like who is in the room, like what people are going through. Like, they might be going through something similar but are not at the same place as you, and like it might still be like extremely triggering and traumatizing for them. And I had never really heard something like that before, and I really think that it applies to this book. Like in the sense that like the author might be ready to talk about things like self-harm or mental health issues or suicide or whatnot, but like not all your readers would be prepared to read that, which is why I am like a huge advocate or at least, I don't know, I've been saying this to myself, but I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but like I really like full-heartedly believe that like all books that deal with like traumatizing things like self-harm, like sexual assault, like racism, homophobia, whatever, like need to have, I don't know if a warning is the right way, but they need to disclose like at the beginning of the book or on the back of the book or something that like this book deals with these themes, these events, whatnot, because like it's just really off-putting and surprising when something like this happens and you're not prepared for it, you're not like ready for it, like, and especially too when this book is marketed to teens or to a younger audience who's impressionable and maybe they're going through similar things and they're not like at that place yet. Like, oh my god, I need to cut myself off because I'm like ranting on about this. I just really think that like this would just completely miss the mark on representations of mental health. I'm getting fired up about this. And like, okay, I'm one of those people who I'm not very good at articulating my thoughts, and I have so much going on in here that what I say is never as articulate or intelligent as I want it to be. Like the thoughts are in my brain, but I just a lot of time I just don't sound smart or I don't like get there, and that's what I feel like when I'm talking about this book. Like I have so many things to say and I feel like I'm not like fully getting across like how problematic this book is and like why, but hopefully you get the general idea. Again, going back to the positive reviews or whatever on Goodreads, like people were talking about, oh, like what a great representation this is for mental health. And I'm like, did you read this book? Did you read it? Because I'm seeing so many problematic things that I can't deal. I don't know if this is relevant to anybody, but like her love interest, Luke or whatever, the main guy in it, like the whole time I was reading it, I was just picturing like the kid from High School Musical, the series. I don't know what his name is. I think the character's name was Ricky. But like I was picturing him as the guy in this. So like I don't know if that was a good or bad thing considering all the like drama llama that's going on with that. But yeah, so like the whole time I was reading this book, like that's who I pictured like as the guy. But see, this is proof. I watched High School Musical, the series. Like I'm totally okay with watching like trashy but entertaining, or not trashy, like bad but entertaining like stuff, you know, but this was just not entertaining. It was just bad. I'm just gonna dig myself into a hole if I keep talking about how much I dislike this book. Do not read this book. It was not good. I honestly wasn't even gonna finish it. Like I got partway through and I was like, this is so bad, like I can't deal. But I figured if I was gonna thoroughly roast it on my YouTube channel, I should probably read the full thing. And spoiler alert, it did not get better. The end was also so rushed and like basically just like an afterthought, and not satisfying at all. So I have zero nice things to say about this, which makes me feel so bad because I'm like, I never want to discredit anybody's experience, especially with mental health. Yeah, not into it. Okay, well, I'm sorry to end on such a negative note, which usually I don't like to do because most of the time, like, I don't hate books. like so passionately. Thanks for watching this video. It was very chaotic, I think. I just wanted to share, you know, some of the stuff that I've been reading lately, hopefully inspire you to read some, if not these books, then whatever you feel like. But there were definitely a few in here that you should definitely check out. But yeah, so I hope to see you next time. Probably my next video will be a new wig review. I'm so excited. I'm finally getting my new wig in a couple days, so I'll probably do something related to that. If you haven't already, subscribe. Ew, that sounded so gross. I need to go before I start doing something even more random than I already have. Okay, bye.